This episode of Another Happy Pod is going to contain spoilers. If you've not experienced the content yourself, please go ahead and do so before coming back and listening to the boys ramble on about it. Thank you very much.
What's up, gamers? Welcome back to Another Happy Pod, the show where we talk about movies, pop culture, and whatever else you want to have a little chin wag about. My name, we don't always succeed, but we do have a good time doing it. My name is Nathan, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Lawrence Thomas. Hi, C. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, Nathan. I like how that intro was...
Is that wedding bells I hear? What is that? Is that wedding bells I hear in the distance?
This is a mess. This is an absolute mess.
Why are those wedding bells playing, I wonder? Because we're getting married.
We're getting married. Me and Nathan are entering a civil partnership for tax purposes, and we will have
and romance purposes.
And romance, and I can't wait to consummate the marriage for both tax and romance.
Me too.
Sex with Nathan.
Okay. Just let that sit there for a while.
Yeah, let it sit there, let it breathe, let it be known.
Let's not let that be known. Let's move on over that. So why are those wedding bells playing, Lawrence?
I had a busy weekend in which I did indeed get engaged, Nathan.
Way! Very many congratulations. You, of course, asked the second most important question a groom-to-be will ask. You have not yet asked the most important question, so I'll just give you a moment if you want to ask me that question right now.
We're doing this on air.
Yep, I'm fucking.
I was gonna find a way to get a nice dinner going. Like I was gonna make this lovely.
Look, look, you can still make a nice dinner, okay? You know I'm not gonna say no to a dinner.
It's one or the other, Nathan. You've got to declare it here and now. Do you want it on the pod, or do you want dinner?
I am not beginning any of my duties until it's officially on record.
Nathan James, although you don't have a middle name for real, Bauer, would you like to be the bestest man?
Oh my god, this is so unexpected.
You had no idea.
I have no idea. Yeah, I'll see if I can make it. Yeah, should be all right.
Yeah, well, if you've got nothing better to do, obviously, don't cancel plans. But...
I'll let you know on the day.
Yeah, that's fine. Just give me a text. Morning of.
Yeah. Well, there we go. I will be your best man. Thank you, and I will be the best of the best men.
The bestest men.
The bestest men. The bestest man. So there we go. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Just see you next week.
This was the wedding
Nathan.
Podcast.
We're doing a podcast on my favorite director and his most recent film, which is Last Night in Soho.
I should do a podcast on your wedding day.
Oh yeah, that'll go down well, won't it? Yeah. Lawrence, come here. We're cutting the cake. I'm recording right now.
We're creating content. Yeah. Oh shit, zucchini. I'll bleep that. Don't worry.
I have some last notes in Soho on this movie, Nathan. Been waiting to say that.
Okay, so you love this movie.
I do, but I don't think it's not a perfect movie, but I really enjoy it.
Okay. Well, you marry it.
That's who I'm getting married to. Last night in Soho. And you.
Of course, for tax purposes.
Yeah, don't forget the Rona.
Okay. So why do you love this movie so much?
I love Edgar Wright. He's been a favourite director of mine for a very long time. I like his dedication to like original movies, original content. Like I always think that when he puts himself into a project, it's always kind of like fresh, funny, like even in unexpected ways. Like he hasn't just made comedies, although he is arguably known for just kind of mainly making comedies. But his movies always feel fresh, inventive, and I think every movie that he makes, he technically excels better than his previous one. Like with every single movie he's made, I think you can see an improvement on a previous one in terms of like filmmaking ability.
Okay.
No.
He's a very talented film director. One of my favorite movies is Baby Driver, although I struggle watching it now because it's filled with nonsense.
Yeah, it's paedophile galore in that film.
Exactly, but it's just still that aside, it's a great movie and I really enjoy it. Cornetto trilogy, obviously a favorite of mine. He does good stuff, which is why I was disappointed by this movie.
Okay.
I was honestly, I was a little bored watching it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I do think that opinion would have been different if you watched it in a cinema where you're supposed to watch these things. Um,
okay, I disagree. It's the
no,
same movie.
it's the same movie, but it's about being swept up in the atmosphere of it, I think. But anyway, we'll disagree on that. But I've noticed on this movie, a lot of people are either it's Marmite. People love it, or they think it's the death of cinema.
I don't hate it. I don't think it's the death of cinema at all. It's to me, it was just very kind of middle of the. It was a little bland, really. It was just
Okay.
very middle of the road. It didn't have the usual flair I would expect from an Edgar Wright movie, which is why I was a little bit, left wanting more. I guess.
That's kind of so. I don't have many issues with this, but my issues are kind of in the same place yours are. I think.
Okay.
I'll go into so I'll get into why I like this in a minute, but maybe I can level with you on the fact that so I think this is so it's new. It's new ground for Edgar Wright, who's obviously
Yes.
yes, he's tapped into horror elements before, very mildly. Like he's never, if he's gone for horror, he's played on the tropes of horror. He hasn't tried to make a horror,
Yeah.
which obviously Shaun of the Dead is primarily a comedy, even though it's kind of named and based on a horror. I think there's a somewhat of an over reliance and a clear lack of knowledge on how to approach a horror film from Edgar Wright in this.
What do you mean? Expand on that.
Well, like for example, once like there's the ghosty figures, and we're
Yes.
going to spoil everything in this. So I know we always warn everyone, but this is going to go into it.
Your blushing bride to be has already warned us of the spoilers.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, no, I just think like so once this kind of ghostly figure and this kind of trope of like the blurred face screaming kind of horrific image,
Yeah.
once that's brought into it, it doesn't leave you alone. And there's somewhat of an over reliance on it when I think the movie was better up until that point when it was relying on giving us hints and teasers. I think this works better as like a thriller than a flat out horror. And when it tries to commit to being a flat out horror, Edgar Wright falls into what he knows best, which is amazing imagery, kind of these very interesting montage type musical set pieces.
Yeah.
And I think to call this a horror is kind of not what it is. I took my mum to see this because she loves thrillers and she loves like she's always reading like
I didn't
murder.
even know this was a horror. I
Well,
didn't.
and that's it. But I took my mum to see this, who's like she's always reading like murder mystery books, and this would have been right up her street, and she doesn't go to the cinema much. So I was like, right, I'll take her to see this, and she
Yeah.
was like, that was a really good thriller, and I was like, well, that sums that up then, doesn't it? That finalizes the point in my head for me.
Okay.
But yeah, well, all right, well, go into what
It
you're.
is, yeah, it is definitely more thriller than horror. There are horror elements to it, but they are quite few and far between.
Mm.
And probably more so in the back half of the movie as well. Um, yeah, one thing that I don't know if this works for or against the movie, but it's all just a little bit vague, really, in terms of like how this is happening and exactly what is happening. And is it reality? Is it quite true? Is it not true? Is it a little bit different from what actually happened? Is it
Yeah,
time travel? Is it magic? Is she just fucking nuts? It's very vague as to what exactly is going on here because there's also something with her mum in a mirror or some shit, which is
yeah,
like, is this part of it as well? Does she have some weird connection to, possibly like the space she inhabits, like the house or whatever? She is able to see who lived there previously or something like that. I thought that was it for a while, but then that didn't necessarily
I,
hold true because it
I've
started
got
to like appear when she was out of the house and everything like that. So I wasn't sure.
I mean, you're absolutely right. It is vague, and I think it's purposely not touched upon because, like, I've mentioned this podcast before. Like years and years ago, I attempted to write this kind of short film based on ghosts, and the second you kind of the second you start putting a ghost in your thing, you're like, can it touch stuff? Can it move through things? How does it appear?
Yeah.
When is it allowed to appear? And there's just so many rules that get broken because you write yourself into a fucking corner. My theory is that it's an overwhelming sixth sense, like that she experiences peacefully because her mum was at peace, or not at peace, but like she was like that was where she would have grown up with her mum. Um,
Yeah.
and her mum was allowed to appear to her there because that's where she was. And then, yeah, you're right, it does kind of get tossed out a little bit later. But then, like, why she has all these visions of the men and Sandy, and why she has the 60s kind of thing is because of the overwhelming amount of dead bodies that are buried under her floorboards. That's their presence, and the more of them, the more powerful the illusion. I guess.
Wouldn't they rot?
Oh, they definitely rot, yeah, but like obviously they're not coming up, and that's all in her head.
No, but like you'd smell them though, wouldn't you? Like,
Well, there's a nice line about that. That
oh,
she
is there?
says, yeah, there's so older Alex, who is revealed to later on be Sandy, the big twist of the movie.
Spoiler
Um,
alert.
oh yeah, for like the third time this episode. She says two things that I caught on second viewing. One of which is it's a bit old fashioned for some, but I won't do anything to it. That's because she can't renovate it because there's fucking so many dead people in the floor.
Sure.
And the other thing is in the winter you'll have to plug the bath because the smell comes up the drain pipes. And she
Oh,
mentions it's like clogged pipes, but obviously it's fucking like rotted flesh and
yeah.
everything else. But yeah, so
That's pretty great.
as with typical Edgar Wright, there's a shitload of things you catch on a second viewing of this.
Yeah, that is very Edgar Wright. Like, I'm still finding stuff every time I watch Shaun of the Dead. It's pretty
Yeah,
insane.
which is amazing for a movie that came out in like when 2000 and when did it come out? Like
I want to say
7?
2000. Oh, earlier than that. I want to say 2004, 2005.
Really?
Like,
Bloody
yeah,
hell!
Hot Fuzz was 2007, I
Oh
think.
shit! Yeah, I think Shaun of the Dead might have been 2003 then.
I'd need to know now.
Yeah,
I can't not know.
we're gonna find out.
2004, yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah, yeah, but I mean that's a testament to like I guess it is a bit disappointing that it's kind of vague then because he's a filmmaker that puts so much effort into the fine details of a film, and you think
Yeah.
this was lacking it, yeah?
I do, yeah, just because it's not what I've come to expect from an Edgar Wright movie. Like I say, when you go to see an Edgar Wright movie, you are expecting certain things. You are expecting a lot of intricate detail and really well crafted out, dialogue and call forwards and call backs and all this type of thing. And granted, it was my first viewing, and I almost certainly missed a whole bunch of stuff. But even so, it didn't hit me the same way that a lot of others did. Because like when I first saw Baby Driver, I was so fucking excited
Yeah.
to just get back in there and see it again as soon as possible, to see what I had missed and see the exciting car chases and all that sort of stuff again. I don't think there's any sequence in this movie which holds up to like any of those car chases or anything like that. And yeah, sure, it's a different tone, it's a different movie and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's nothing here that just really grabbed me in the same way.
No, it's fair enough. Like it's absolutely not for everyone. I when I went into this, I was excited because obviously, like you say, with Edgar Wright, you do get these big set pieces. And I found a few stood out for me. I really liked the when he gets a bit weird with it at certain moments. Like I think the revealing of what she thinks is Jack stabbing Sandy when she's about to like bring this guy back to hers or like the flat.
Yeah.
And the guys, they start getting off, and she starts like stressing and panicking. This guy's shitting himself, going, "Fucking, why is she screaming? What have I done wrong?" And there's this beautiful like knife shot that like it catches on her eyes, and like as the knife comes into frame, you see her eyes like widen in the reflection of it. Like that, I think those set pieces are just so masterfully created. Like some serious good slasher stuff there, but obviously it's going for something very different, and it's hard to be as entertaining as an action movie when it's not an action movie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is, and don't get me wrong, it's really well made. It's beautiful to look at, and the sequences like where Anya Taylor-Joy is just walking around, and then you see the other whose name I don't know, the Jojo Rabbit girl. You see her in the mirror in the background and stuff. It's all really well done, and for the most part practical as well. And it's really really impressive shit, especially that like dance sequence where they're like going back and forth with Matt Smith and that sort of stuff. It's really well done. It's just I don't know, like I say, just I hate saying this because I feel mean, but it was just bland and boring. Really, I just the like visuals and beautiful cinematography and effects alone aren't really enough to grab me. I think that needs to go hand in hand with a story and a premise that's quite gripping and engaging. And for me, this just wasn't. I found myself a little just.
Did you not like find yourself kind of hooked in on the murder mystery of all? Like, where did you stand on because there's kind of like two twists that are kind of there's one big twist that's revealed in two kind of moments. Did you not find yourself like thrown off by then and like pulled back into it? Or
so the twist that the landlady is Anya Taylor-Joy, I kind of saw that coming. Like from like at the beginning of the movie, when you first introduced to Anya Taylor-Joy, and then she goes back to that same house, I was like, oh, it's her. It's her from later in the movie, and that's how she's seeing all this stuff. And then I thought, oh, maybe she's not because she died. And then they were just like, no, just kidding, it is her. And I was like, oh, okay. So that one just left me. That one just left me like a little bit underwhelmed. And then the same thing kind of happened with the Jack twist because like when he says, and I think this one is purposeful from the movie as well. This is what it's trying to achieve. Like because like when he offers her the cigarette and he's like, no, I knew another blonde who smoked. Straight away I was like, oh, that's Matt Smith. That's Matt Smith. I get it. I figured it out. I'm very clever. That's Matt Smith. Then of course it's not Matt Smith.
Yeah.
It's that one was actually a very clever twist. That one actually did get me. I was like, oh, okay, it's the copper. That's quite interesting.
Yeah. He's in like less than a scene, isn't he? Which I think is really cool. Played by Sam Claflin, I think it was, wasn't
it? Who's Sam Claflin?
There's a guy. He's in. I don't know. He's in a movie where his legs don't work and he has to fall in love, but he's got no legs or something.
I can't wait to see Legs Don't Work in the movie.
Legs don't work, but I'm in love. The movie
sounds great. Yeah, that was all good. But the thing that like kind of didn't that sequence where you're like finding out that it's not Jack, it's that cop. That all seemed a bit contrived though, because it all seemed very much leading to this conversation between the two of them, and they're building up, and she's telling him what she knows, and he's like, yeah, but you don't know this, or I know everything, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, but why are you saying this if you're not Jack though? Like, why are you talking like in this way? Because the dialogue. I don't know, there was something about the dialogue which was like very much I am Jack, not I am the copper.
Yeah, and that's very intentional. Like there are a few moments that kind of undercut it because there's like he's very true to the character in the sense that everyone describes him as a ladies' man. Like the Irish guy at the pub calls him like handsy or something.
Yeah.
And you get that sense when even though when it's revealed he is the younger copper in the 60s. Like even when he approaches her, he's still like this swami. Oh, you're too good for this, darling. Like he still looks like a fucking creep.
Yeah.
Even if he is technically on the right side of the law. So some of it you can read into, but yeah, it definitely does lean on a heavy I am Jack. And also, my only problem with that fake out was like, surely if this guy like. He comes for a beer at his local at like same time every day, and then he just starts getting accused of murdering this girl who he knows the girl accusing him could have had no chance of knowing.
Yeah,
like just because of time periods and stuff. He kind of is very like fine with that line of questioning and very like open to talk about it when in reality like it's a complete stranger coming up to him and asking him about really finite details of his life from like decades past.
I think this is what I was trying to articulate as well. This is what I was trying to say. It's like the fact that she's saying you killed Sandy, and to him Sandy's alive. Sandy's not dead, but he's just not questioning that.
It's like, I didn't kill her, morality killed her.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why is going? And of course, the reveal hasn't happened yet. At this point, we still think Sandy's dead, but it just seems odd looking back at it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, there are definitely a few moments where it's like, it is like, I didn't kill her. and I don't like this line of questioning. I didn't kill her because the realization of her ghastly actions are what threw her over the edge. Like, just be like, what the fuck are you talking about? She's alive.
It's just like, it's that dialogue which just no one would ever say.
Yeah, it's like he could easily have turned around to him and been like, it's fucking weird that you bring that up because this old bat, I'm convinced she murdered those blokes. I could never prove it. Fuck.
Another thing about that scene as well, just one thing I just didn't like about it, when is his name Lindsay, I think it is, when he is hit by the cab, it's then very much sudden, and now we'll have some exposition from the bar owner scene.
Yeah.
Now it's very much,
it's Lindsay, the police officer from the 60s.
Yeah, exactly.
He's been hit by a car.
It's Lindsay, not Jack, the person you thought it was.
Yeah, she's like, his name's not Jack, and she's like, no, it's Lindsay.
He was a cop in the 60s.
Yeah, he worked in the red light district. He actually knew the person that you've been hallucinating. It's very. Where I'm at with this movie is I do really like it, and maybe that's bias in the sense that I think Edgar Wright films are, and maybe this is why I think that you may have had a different opinion about it going to see it in the cinema, because I've watched this twice in the cinema, and one time just to recap myself on it on my laptop, and it's only on my laptop I started noticing the little nitpicky bits, like not nitpicky bits, but like, because these are what people would consider serious flaws of the movie in terms of their enjoyment. But it was only then that I noticed them, and I think an Edgar Wright film solely stands on, its merits in the theater. Like it's loud, it's so visually appealing because the man's got the most impeccable sense of rhythm when it comes to editing his movies. Like,
the only reason I would disagree with that is because I saw Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz on DVD. I didn't see them in the cinema because when they came out, I just wasn't really that much into film and that sort of thing. So, like, I've never experienced them.
They are better films, like flat out. Like, there's no denying that I like this film, but it's not up there for Edgar Wright. Like, he's got much better movies than this.
All of them.
Jesus. But no, I just think there's stuff in this that I really like. Like, I love the music choices. I love that he's one of the few. Good. I love that he's one of the few directors like working in terms of working to get people into the cinema as well. That will go. That will kind of just every film he goes, fuck it, I'm gonna do something I've never done before. Like,
when the little girl, I don't know why I said that. That's weird. When the main, what's her name? Ellie. When
Thomas and Mackenzie from Jojo Rabbit and Old and everything.
I've seen Old. When she first goes back to like the 60s or whatever, was I being mad or was that like was fucking Fred and or George there?
It's the Weasley twins. Yeah, there's actually there's a really interesting thing about that. So they all the reflection stuff that they did it practically because Edgar Wright's saying, it's such a big. He did an interview where he was like, the moment is such a big moment for Eloise's character, or Thomas and Mackenzie's character Eloise, that it can't be something she's not reacting to. She has to. The whole scene is about her watching something. And if she's not there watching it, it doesn't sell the same. And so they did a lot of it by like comping out backgrounds, green screening the windows, just getting her to stand in this blank pane that they then filled in with like reflections in the background. So it's a lot of it is practical. Okay. And the use of twins was done because of the fact that this man, it wasn't possible that he could replicate the exact same moves on a different person just because they're different heights and X, Y, Z. So he just went, who are some twins? And it literally happened to be that Fred, I don't know, James and Oliver, I think of their name. Oliver Phelps, maybe. I think. I might be wrong, but anyway, the Weasley twins. Yeah, they just happened to be available, and we're like, yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't catch that on the first time, so yeah, it's quite funny.
No, it was quite funny. It caught me by surprise for a moment. I was like, Fred?
George?
Very
they've
fun.
they've both got two ears, which is not how we're used to seeing them in the movies.
Yeah. I did like the music and everything. Music was great. Great little cameo from Cilla Black. It's very weird that Cilla Black was like in the '60s and stuff. She was like this rising star, and famous all over the world. But then when I was a kid, she was just the woman who hosted Blind Date on ITV.
Yeah, right. It's very weird, right?
It is very weird, yeah.
But this has got like this for me. Its strengths fall on the performances. Like,
Yeah.
I think that sometimes I agree with you. Like, the dialogue they're saying is not the most believable in the world, and it's not like. And I've got another point on that actually. God, I feel like we're just ripping into this, but I really like this movie. I like this movie. What I'm trying to do is sympathise with the fact that it's not going to be everyone's favourite, and I can see why.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take away from the fact that when I was in the cinema and watching this, I was having an amazing time.
Okay.
So I think that's just like the vibe of an Edgar Wright film, especially with like bright lights, like the red. It's such a distinct color palette that it's hard not to be like fully wrapped up in it, at least for me. Um, but there's some great moments in this and some like, great characters. Like you've got Diana Rigg, as her last film, unfortunately.
It
Who
was,
was
yeah. She's from Game of Thrones and Doctor
yeah
Who and
has
other stuff.
she has the best line in Game of Thrones, where she goes, "He always was a cunt," and it's just the best line.
Very
Um,
true.
Yeah, so she was great in it. A guy called Terrence Malick, who is the most handsome old man ever.
Okay.
He plays Jack, but if you like look at his cast photo when he's not like in the creepy kind of old man wig and stuff, like he's just the sexiest old man you've ever seen in your life.
He plays not Jack.
He plays not Jack, yeah, he plays
Yeah.
Lindsay.
Lindsay!
It's fucking Lindsay,
the police officer
the
from
copper from the
1964
60s.
to 69.
Yeah. I like how it was like he had to have left London as well. It's like when I came
Yeah.
back to London, I did this. It's like, yeah, you did have to leave for a while.
Yeah.
Otherwise, someone could have been like, yeah,
How
he
did
was
you
chilling.
feel? How did you feel about London in this movie?
I
The
liked it.
depiction of London. You liked it. Okay.
I did like it. I don't know if they travelled blocks and blocks in seconds. I'm not too clued up on it like you are.
I mean, no, maybe they didn't. Well,
Basically, I don't know if this was a Skyfall scenario where
I don't think it was. Yeah.
or a Thor: The Dark World, where it's like, get me to Greenwich, and he's 2 stops on the train. It's like, I'm here at Greenwich now.
I don't think it was. I mean, from what I can tell about Edgar Wright, he actually lives in Soho, so like this is his like local area. So I don't think he knows it quite well, clearly. So I don't think it was anything like that. I used to go out in Soho quite a lot in my first year at uni, back when I did go out.
Catch Nathan at the Rialto, sipping a Vespa, listening to some smooth jazz.
Catch me at Café de Paris in my pink dress.
You're there for Cilla Black's opening numbers, and you're like, oh, bow, bow, bow. I'm bloody enjoying my night here. Gonna have my Vespa martini. Gonna have a sip.
It's true. This girl's got too much money. First of all, like, what's she doing? First of all, like,
wait, which girl? Which girl?
the fucking not Anya Taylor-Joy, the other one.
I think what has happened there is that like her nan has given her a lot of money, but then she also buys some clothes, and then immediately she's like, "Fuck, I need a job." So I don't know.
That's true, but like she also like goes into, first of all, her roommate, biggest cunt in the world. Fuck that bitch. She should have stabbed her with the scissors. Second of all,
amazing performance. Like she's got like a couple of lines in the film, and she makes a very big impression. She's great.
She does. I hate her. I hope she never gets work again. So that's how good she was. Is Joffrey again? What was I going to say? Oh yeah, she gets in student accommodation, which presumably she would have had to pay like a deposit, at least 6 weeks rent up front, and then she just leaves and goes to get some other house, and she's asking for 2 months rent up front, which is, if you know London, that's at least like $3,000. Like, what the fuck is going on there?
Yeah.
Like,
For a room overlooking a town centre in Soho, you're gonna be paying through the fucking neck.
And not only did she want she wanted 2 months rent, but also 2 months deposit. So that's like $6,000. Like, what the fuck, man?
Fun fact for anyone that doesn't like live or hasn't ever lived in London that listens to this, of which I don't know if there is anyone, but hey ho, the quality of like the '60s housing. Yeah, that's it, and you're still paying good $3,000 for 2 months up front for that. Like,
Yeah.
half the buildings in London are borderline falling down.
Unlivable.
But there they are being sold as premium fucking housing.
Yeah, that's London for
Jesus.
you. One of the main reasons I don't live there anymore, because
Yeah.
it
I
was a pricey city, baby.
I think this is a good depiction of. I think this is both the best depiction of like uni in London,
Yeah.
and also there's some lines of dialogue in this that are just clearly written by someone that didn't go to uni in London and hasn't been an of uni age for a long time.
I did think that at some points, yeah.
There's a guy that like walks up. Firstly, like the freshest thing when she goes and sits in a duvet and like falls asleep with her Beats headphones on in the kitchen, and she wakes up and the kitchen's a shithole. People have gone in and written their names on the cans of Coke, but then someone just takes it anyway. That's prime uni stuff.
That's pretty uni, yeah.
That's London at uni. Like I'd be writing my name on a pasta bake and like over the tin foil, and then some cunt would still fucking eat a bit of it in the microwave or something.
You'd walk into the kitchen and you just see him there eating it at the table and be like, "Oh, I don't know, it was yours." Like, really?
And we both know who that him is, don't we? I love how I love how you in your head immediately personified the same man. Yeah. But then there's other lines, like for example, like you like they're in a bar at this one point, and this guy walks over and goes, "Excuse me, love, can I bury my cock in your ass?"
Oh, that was very. I hated that so much.
And I was like, while guys are grim, they try and be a little bit more subtle than that. And then she's all like, "Haha, good try," and it's like, was it? Was it a good try?
This movie is very much like Men are scum. I'm like,
yeah, there's a bit of that, yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, fair enough. I'm not going to disagree with you, but
no, yeah.
But it is sometimes it is a little on the nose. I've never taken a black cab in my life, and I never will take one from fucking King's Cross to Soho or whatever she does, because what are you doing again? That's like 600 quid. And she clearly just jumped in a fake taxi or something, because
all you supermodels in one house.
Well, bloody hell, I'll be around there.
You're giving me a boner, he said.
Just straight away with Electra stuff. But I guess that's the point. It is very, new person to London, intimidated by creeps of the big city and all that stuff, and it was quite well done.
Unfortunately, it's a daily reality that
absolutely.
Black cabbies are 90% of the time men in their 50s and 60s who are just so out of touch with how crass and disgusting the comments they're making are.
Yeah,
but it's realistic. It is accurate.
Yeah. What I did think, I was a little worried though, because I kind of thought that at one point the movie was like saying. It kind of at one point it seemed to be like blaming Sandy rather than like the men who like sexually abused her and all this sort of stuff. It seemed to be like saying she's a bad person for doing all this. We're the victims, help us. Literally them saying help us. And I was like, oh, I don't know about this. I feel comfortable with this, and that's not the case, because it very does switch around. And she's like, "No, fuck you. I'm not helping you. You're all scum or whatever." But for a moment there, I was like, "Oh, don't like this."
Yeah, it does. Like, there's a few moments where this does kind of like veer its theme a little bit, and you panic. But Edgar Wright is the sweetest director in Hollywood history. Like, there's no chance he'd have gone down, and his legacy would have been burned to ash from making that wrong choice.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, there are a few moments where I was worrying slightly. There's also some interesting, like, nice. I say nice, but there's very realistic themes in this. Like, for example, the black guy who she takes back. Who is, I can't remember his character's name, but he's like the love interest of the film, and genuinely one of the nicest, most understanding guys you'll ever meet, because he just seems like the loveliest dude,
like the only nice dude in the movie.
Yeah, literally, yeah, and he pays for it, man. Like he's like, you got to be a wanker in London. Yeah, he gets deeply stabbed, for just being nice.
That's it. That was another thing. One line which very much rang as. Maybe you are a little bit out of touch. Edgar Wright was the line about him. How do you expect me to get from the South London to North London? I drive. I'm like, what? What? Not like this is the city with the biggest fucking transport network in the world, but
yeah,
and you're from South London, which I'm assuming means like fucking Southwark or Peckham or Brixton or something like that, and you're going to North London, which in this case is Soho. It isn't really North London; it's more central.
Yeah.
It's just north of the river. So, and you're driving what fucking 20 minutes, and you're paying your congestion each and every day for that. I'm like, this seems very out of touch, Edgar Wright, you millionaire who gets a black cab everywhere.
I know what you mean, yeah. But no, there's this nice theme in this. Again, I said nice theme. It's not nice, but it's realistic. Of where that guy, the love interest, the young lad, does come back to hers, and he's intently worried about Ellie's safety when she starts having like a freak out of when she's getting visions of the past and what she thinks is Sandy being murdered by Jack. And he's there the entire time saying like, is it okay? Like, you were right. What have I done wrong? Can I help you? Being a really lovely guy. And the second you see sheer, like he's handling that calmly.
Yeah.
But the second you see sheer panic is when she hears the landlord saying, "I'll call the police," and he's like, "Oh my God, broken window. I'm in a home that isn't mine with a girl on the end of the bed screaming, and I'm a young black guy in London."
Get out of there, bro.
Yeah, and you see that mentality switch, and I'm like, fuck, that's it's a minute detail, but it's cleverly woven into the movie, and important because it is, unfortunately, again, it's one of them tragic things that does happen day to day.
I was waiting for him to turn though at any moment. I was like, every man is scum in this movie, so he's gonna be scum as well. I'm like, it's only a matter of time before like he reveals himself to be evil too. So yeah, but
he's a good lad.
Nice, yeah.
He's a good egg. He's the only one that got out of that unscathed, apart from the stab wound that he obtained.
So there's before I go into this segment, just clarify something for me. Is Anya Taylor-Joy American?
I don't fucking know.
Okay,
I don't know.
Me neither.
She sounds both.
I know. I'm like, that's a bloody good English accent, but then other times I'm like, I don't know, because I was gonna say there's two people doing accents in this movie, and one of them's great, Anya Taylor-Joy. One of them needs a little bit of work. Matt Smith, you're a great actor. You are one of my favorite actors. Okay, you are my favorite Doctor Who, but I'm not sure the Cockney accent's working out for you, mate.
Also, the worst thing is he's from London, right? I'm pretty sure he is. Just use your voice.
Why does he have to have this Cockney twang to it? It seems very. I don't know. It wasn't good though. It really wasn't good. It
was a lot of the "don't be daft, you know what I'm here for" kind
Listen,
of. Like,
I'll just be down the apples and pears.
It was a bit of that, and I noticed that in the trailers, and I was a little bit like, oh, I was a little bit unclear on. I get she's very like kind of country girl, but I was a little unclear on Thomasin McKenzie's accent. But then I realised that she's actually from New Zealand, and then I thought, okay, that's actually a very good accent.
Okay.
Yeah, she's got like a thick New Zealand accent, and the fact that she was able to hide it in something that I don't quite know what it was trying to be.
Well, she said she's from Cornwall, didn't she? So I guess she's trying to do that like Devonshire accent,
I guess,
which didn't really come across. It was more just British, I guess.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I felt about it. Yeah. What do you think about we haven't got long, so we'll wrap up in a minute. But what do you think about the ending of this? Because it's been shown to us the entire time that she kind of actually, tell you what. Firstly, like, so it was revealed that it wasn't she didn't help the ghosts. I'm not sure how she could have done. But she didn't help the ghosts find their peace by like killing Sandy, I guess, and that came about, and she kind of had a level of respect for her, or at least empathy. And then it's revealed that gone is her mum in the reflection to a degree, and instead is this other, who I took it as this other woman that she now realizes she somewhat admires potentially, for standing up for herself, and I don't know. It read a bit open to interpretation. What do you think?
To me, it very much was just classic final moment in a horror movie kind of moment, like classic. Okay. oh, you thought the bad person was dead, but fucking here's Michael Myers. It was very much just the final reveal of the killer's still out there, that kind of thing, which to me
but
seems
not much
very,
meaning to it. Or...
yeah, exactly, which to me just seems very cheesy and just kind of, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Again, like as soon as like the credits started on and I realized that was the end, I was like, huh, okay, well that was a choice. Yeah, I didn't like it. I thought it was, and specifically that moment, I just thought it was a little unnecessary and kind of out of place with like where the movie was heading at that point, really.
Fair enough.
Because it seemed like, she had made roads and she was doing better. She's doing well at uni and that sort of stuff. She's got a fashion show. Her grand's proud of her. Her boyfriend's proud of her. Her mum's here and she's proud of her. And then it was just like, nah. It was just, nah.
And me,
you're
the
still
90-year-old murderer who is now dead, is still proud of you.
Yeah, but I didn't even see it as like her being proud of her. Even the look on Anya Taylor-Joy's face, it was like, I'm still here, I'm gonna get you. And even like fucking the look on, is it Thomasin McKenzie's face? She was like, scared, fear. So it didn't come across as sweet. It came across as sinister to me. So that's why for me it's just like a big 180 out of nowhere. You can't see me, but I'm turning my hand.
I know what you're saying, though, because a lot of old horror movies, which this is definitely drawing from and inspired by, they do have that final moment of like, I mean, like the one of the cheesiest examples I can think of it is the end of the Michael Jackson Thriller video when he's like, I'm back to normal and I'm fine, and then he turns around and he's like got the weird CGI face and he goes, ha 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 ha.
What voice was that?
That's Michael Jackson's voice. I'm fine. I'm good now. I'm. You heard him in that Thriller music video? It's terrifying.
Okay.
That's what he sounds like.
I know what Michael Jackson sounds like,
but he's like, I'm having a good time watching this movie. Like, do you not think he sounds like that?
I know what Michael Jackson sounds like. I just don't know if he sounds like that. I think, okay.
I don't know. I think you're bullying me. I think that was a good impression. I was quite happy with it. I've done that at parties, Nathan. I feel embarrassed.
Anyway, let's wrap up.
One thing I'll say before we wrap up very quickly. It does make me a little bit apprehensive and sad, because, as I've said, one of the main reasons I love Edgar Wright is he's one of the few filmmakers that he point blank refuses to do anything that isn't kind of his own IP. And something that he hasn't crafted and hasn't been his brainchild. Like, he very, very rarely will go and direct an episode of just another show somewhere. Like, he won't pick up random work. He likes to really love and live in what he's directing, which I really admire and think is really cool. But this sadly has not been received very well, and the reason that you were able to watch it so early is it's been out less than a month and it's already being pushed to streaming services just to try and increase some revenue for it.
Right.
It's been a movie that's very much a few people saw in the cinema, and obviously now that it's available both legally to buy and illegally to stream, it's one of them where I'm like, God damn, I really wanted better for this. Yeah. Because Edgar Wright is so competent, and I think he's one of the most talented directors. And although this might not be for everyone, you can guarantee that the next thing he makes probably will be better than this, or will go harder than this, will be a Baby Driver kind of quality type work. And I just wish that this did better is my main thing, because I think it's such a disappointment for it to have not been received nicely.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, like I say, I was just a little disappointed with it overall. Just left me feeling kind of, let down, I guess, because if I'm watching an Edgar Wright movie, that's something I'm usually quite excited for, and like I say, I'm gonna get lots of fun action scenes. Not necessarily that I was expecting that, but just fun scenes to really sink your teeth into and that sort of thing, and just left feeling just disappointed after it.
That's fair enough.
Like I say, though, very well made movie. He's clearly a very talented director. My issues are more story based than anything, really.
Yeah.
So
I would say if anyone's listening to this and they, even though they're very happy with both the major twists in this movie having been spoiled, or you fast forwarded this to the 45-minute mark, go and see it and make up your own mind about it, because it's a movie that I loved in the cinema, and I've spent the entire podcast kind of picking holes in it, but it's fun to do that. and it is for me a good film. Obviously, for Nathan, not so much. Not terrible, but not like his best work. But it's a movie that I still think is more creative and better made than a lot of things that come out.
And if you can look past nonsense, watch Baby Driver. That's pretty cool too.
Yeah, that is a difficult rewatch, isn't it? I'm just like, because when it goes to Kevin Spacey, I'm like, I know that you're the villain and you're a nonce, but then it goes to Ansel Elgort, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be cheering this character on, but realistically, I just want him to fucking crash his car and die. Yeah. Just let Lily James out safely so she can sit there and go and make more movies about period dramas and potato peels or whatever.
She loves potato peel pies or whatever it is.
She absolutely does. It's true.
Anyway, take it.
This has been a lovely podcast, and if you like these lovely podcasts and want to listen to more lovely podcasts, they go live Fridays at 10 a.m. And you can get a little reminder if you follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at Another Happy Pod. We'll post a little post there to let you know that there's a new episode live, so you never miss a bloody trick when you come and follow us on the old social medias. You can also review us, give our podcast a little 5-star review, I believe, on Apple Podcasts. It's fun, you don't have to, but we'd like it if you could, and it would be nice, and it would mean the whole world to us, and maybe I'll even marry you if you do that. So there's a little incentive for you. Next week, we're going to be having a bunch of fun with this. I'm Stuart Little the Mouse. Yes, next week we're going to have loads of fun doing Stuart Little the Small Mouse.
I don't know how I'm going to fucking find clips for that. I mean, they'll be on YouTube, but like, what am I going to put?
Just torrent it and then just throw a
No,
scene
but
in.
what scene though? What scene conveys that this is Stuart Little?
I'm Stuart Little the Mouse, and I'm I don't know why it sounds like Borat.
I'm gonna put that in. That's what I'm gonna put. If you heard that twice, now you know why.
But yeah, so get excited for that. Thank you, Alex Lidard, for suggesting that, and also donating as much money as you did to Battersea Cats and Dogs.
We'll talk more about that next week.
We will. But I was just giving a preemptive thank. Do you know what? I'm done with this.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you. We'll see you next week, folks. Stay
juicy.
Cool. There we go. Anyway, that's the end.
Goodbye,
of it.
everyone. We'll see you next week.